What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to talk about the upcoming class balancing on June 12. Oh, and by the way, let me introduce you to my bodyguard Moon. She's been following me for quite some time now, from dailies to AFK grinding, day and night. It's kinda creepy but I appreciate the company. But before we start the video, do you have problems AFK grinding in ROX? Do you always worry that you may overcharge or the battery of your phone, tablet, or laptop may overheat? Do you worry about your electricity bill when grinding using your personal computer that is running for days non-stop? Or do you encounter intermittent connection from your internet service provider, which disconnects your character when AFK grinding? Well, if that is the case, then UgPhone can solve all of your problems. UgPhone is a cloud phone that runs independently in the cloud and it does not consume the memory or battery of your physical device. Even if you close the UgPhone app, your game will still continue to run in the cloud, which makes this the perfect phone for AFK grinding for 24 hours, 7 days a week non-stop.
Nice.
You can also run multiple instances of UgPhone in one account, which allows you to play and grind multiple games simultaneously. As you can see, my Shura and Royal Guard are AFK grinding at the same time. UgPhone is available in Google Play for Android, App Store for iOS, Windows Store for PC, and you can also use a web browser to run UgPhone. So if you want to try out UgPhone, you can use my link shown in the description below. And you can also use my invitation code, which really helps me out. So thank you guys, and thank you UgPhone for the sponsor. Now let's get back to the video. A few weeks ago, I created a video about the results of the suggestion box from ROX. And one of the topics in the suggestion box were about balancing some of the current classes in the game. On top of that, if you go to the ROX official website, there is a section there about an upcoming class balancing again this month. And now, we got a leak from the ROX Korea community about the possible classes included in the class balancing. Take note, this has not yet been confirmed by ROX Southeast Asia, so take this with a grain of salt. Some changes might still be included once they implement this in our region. So what are the classes included in this update? The classes are the Sage, Bard and Dancer, Crusader, Mage, and Ninja. Out of these set of classes, I have only played the Crusader class and I haven't really experienced playing the other classes, so my level of expertise on these classes are not that high. Although I will try to break down the changes and give my own opinion if these are buffs or nerfs on the skills. You can also let me know in the comment section if these are good or bad changes for the class. So first, let's check out the changes for the Sage class. The first skill affected in the update is the Magic Rod. From the first part of the description alone, the magic barrier that was once a solo buff now becomes a party buff as it will also be granted to other party members. Although the duration has been lowered from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. The blocking capability of the skill will now scale on int in the upcoming patch. In addition to that, the magic rod no longer steals int to the target. It will now regenerate the Sage's SP and at the same time, it will increase the fixed cooldown time of the target. It will also increase the Sage's final magic damage, which can stack up to 10 times. For me personally, I think this is more or less a buff for the Sage, especially the magic barrier for all party members. At the same time, the increase of the fixed cooldown time of the target is quite big as it can cause delays when casting skills. Moving on to the auto spell skill, the main changes in this skill are the required agility and dexterity base stats. In the current update, the increase in probability requires 80 points of agi per 1% increase. As compared to the new update, a 1% increase now only requires 40 points of agility. Same goes for the elemental arrow level, wherein it will increase its level per 400 dex points in the current patch. In the new patch or in the new update, it will now increase in level per 200 dex points only. So this is basically a buff for this skill. Next is the Earthgrave skill. this is quite straightforward as the damage computation for this skill is now higher as compared to the current patch. It will also scale up with the int-based stat to deal more damage. Again, this is a buff for this skill. Next is the Diamond Dust skill. Similar to the Earth Drive, the damage computation has been increased and it can now scale up with the int-based stat. In addition to that, the freezing chance has been doubled in the upcoming new patch. Last but not the least is the Varieteer Spear skill. This is another buff as it is similar to the Earthgrave and Diamond Dust skills. The damage computation has been improved and it can now scale up with the int-based stat. Moving on to the next class, which are the Bard and Dancer. The first skill is the Severe Rainstorm. The changes here is the damage of the rain arrows from 5% to 10%. This is a buff for the Bard and Dancer class. Next is the Musical Strike 1 and 2 and Throw Arrow 1 and 2. From a 3-second duration, now becomes a 5-second duration, another buff for the Bard and Dancer class. Moving on to the Crusader, the only skill affected in this class balancing is the Shield Boomerang skill. Based on the description, I think this is a nerf for the Royal Guard, as the computation for the max HP has been lowered from 1% to 0.05%. Also, the bounce mechanic for the Shield Boomerang has been changed. In the upcoming new patch, once you are hit with a Shield Boomerang, you can no longer get hit again. So you will only receive damage from this skill one time. As compared to the current mechanic that we have now, if there are 2 targets for the Shield Boomerang, it can bounce back and forth at these 2 targets, which basically deals a huge amount of damage, especially if you are hit twice by this skill. In my opinion, this is a nerf for the Royal Guard. I don't think this will move the needle in terms of the Royal Guard being a meta class. I think this change will affect the PvP side of this class more than the PvE. Because in PvP, when a Royal Guard chases its targets, they can just use the Shield Boomerang skill to hit them multiple times. Now, in the new update, the possibility of getting hit by the shield multiple times has been removed. In terms of PvE, I don't think this skill is used that much, especially in MVP and mini hunts. The common skill used by Royal Guards in boss hunts is the Earth Drive skill. For AFK grinding, I also don't think this will hurt the Royal Guard that much, since most of the time, you can easily one-hit the monsters with any of the shield skills. I'll use my Royal Guard as an example. I only use Earth Drive in AFK grinding as I can one-hit the monsters using one skill. That is why, as I've mentioned earlier, this is a nerf for the Royal Guard, but not really a significant nerf. Moving on to the Mage, the first skill is the Fire Pillar. This is obviously a buff for the Fire Pillar skill as the damage computation has been massively improved. At the same time, the damage will now scale up with the int-based stat. Moving on to the Kindle skill, another buff as the chance to activate the skill is increased from 5% to 10%. The additional damage is also increased from 1% to 3%. Moving on to the final class, which is the Ninja, the first skill is the Throw Shuriken skill. A buff for this skill as the semi-consumed has been reduced and the damage has been doubled. Next is the Final Strike. Another buff as the fixed cooldown time has been lowered from 15 seconds to 10. Same goes for the Final Strike Up as the cooldown reduction has been increased from 0.1 to 0.2. Next is the North Wind skill. This is also a buff to the skill as it now scales up with the strength stat. Last but not the least is the Shadow Slash skill. Same with the North Wind skill. This is another buff as the damage now scales up with the strength-based stat. And that's it for the upcoming class balancing this June. For me personally, I think the buffs for the Sage, Bard and Dancer and Mage are fair, especially the buff for the Sword type or Strength type build of the Ninja. I think if you ask players right now, the more dominant build of the ninja in this game is the shuriken or magic build ninja. In terms of the Royal Guard, I personally think that the nerf is not really that much of a difference maker for this class. The Royal Guard will still be very strong in the PvE and PvP space. How about you guys? What are your thoughts in these changes? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to see more ROX content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. GG!
You're a superhero.